Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Midwest Tribal Energy Resource Association virtual conference. My name is Gary Lewis. I'm a board member of MTERA representing the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians. Today we're going to start with a presentation on climate change and the impacts to the tribe. MTERA has been working from around the country with state and federal energy policy and strategic energy planning activities with the goal in mind to help the tribes advance their energy initiatives. And so with the start today on the climate change, the rest of the day will be all about MTERA, and we'll hear from MTERA board members. This will help you get a sense of the projects and challenges and opportunities happening throughout Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. We'll also hear from our partners supporting MTERA's collective action initiatives. These important projects explore opportunities for tribes throughout the Midwest to work together to achieve more benefits from energy projects through regional collaboration, which is an awesome thing. Lastly, we'll hear from one of our associate members, Guzman Energy, LLC, Noresco, Sunvest Solar, Tainer's Optimized Mechanical Solutions, and the Indian Land Tenure Foundation. I'd like to take time to thank our associate members for supporting MTERA, and we look forward to continued partnership. As a reminder, day 4 tomorrow is about the Tribal Solar Initiative. It's being led by NREL, National Renewable Energy Laboratory, and is made up of 4 consecutive sessions with a brief presentation and some casual conversation. The sessions include small-scale interconnection processes, net metering and rate structures, utility-scale interconnection, and regional wholesale energy markets. So that's a lot of information. You don't want to miss it. Please try to participate in one of the working sessions. We got an amazing lineup of speakers, a virtual event space offering one-on-one meetings, and virtual exhibitor booths. So please check those out. There's a short video tutorial on the conference website to show you how to engage with exhibitors and other attendees during the conference. On the event website, click My Event in the drop-down menu, then click on Virtual Event Space Tutorial. If you have any questions or technical issues during the conference, please reach out to Jody Jean Amble. Her phone number and email address are prominently displayed on the main page on the conference website. We want to remind you that all programming will be available on demand. You can review all sessions by visiting My Event on the website menu, click Event Hub, and view sessions. We'll send attendees an email when videos are posted. Thank you to all the presenters, and thanks again to all the sponsors. We'll hear from later today. And of course, thank you for MTERA member tribes and our board members for the input and participation. Our momentum and success is a result of your dedication. Now I'm privileged to introduce Jay Sam, who's from the Little River Band of Ottawa Indians, to do our invocation. Jay Sam has held various positions within the tribe, from the Ogama tribal chairman to judge, historic preservation director, which he's currently serving in now, but he also serves as the lead executive, which is underneath our tribal chairman to help divide up some of the 20 plus departments we have in the tribe. So with that, Jay Sam, could you please give us the invocation?
Certainly, and thank you, Gary. That was a very good introduction. Because usually when people start talking like that, it sounds like I can't hold a job. Miigwech Gizhimanadu, Nokamasak, Mishumasak, Kichi Nishnabik, Ganigan Shidjik. Gizhimanadu, Miigwech Gidigo, Madizuin Gamijiang. Miigwech Gizhimanadu, Minawa Shakamakwe, Kinakigo Mampiaking. Miigwech Mamwi Ayayang Mampi. Buksen Magum G Nadmo Yang Nadmano Gateway Ea Kwajik Nangwa. Gijimanadu Jean Mushan Nang Mankans Minawa Joen Mashang. Thank you, Creator, grandmother, grandfathers, and ancestors that have walked before us. Thank you for giving us life. Thanks for all the things on the earth, and thank you that we are together today. We ask with humility for your help and to help those who are sick and in need of help today. now. Show us the path we are to follow and bless us this day. We also ask that you look in on those who are serving people in all places that they can, hospitals, ambulances, firemen, policemen, soldiers, and even those in this conference who are serving the best for the people as we go through the future, because they are protecting the earth, which is what we need to do. Miigwech Gishi Manadu, miigwech, miigwech, miigwech.
Miigwech, Mr. Sam, thank you for those words. I really appreciate that. Now I'd like to take the time to introduce Brandy Toft. She's the MTERA chairwoman, to open up our climate change presentation. Brandy, please take it away.
Thank you, Gary. Really appreciate that. And thank you, Sam. Just appreciate those kind words and good way to start off a meeting. So welcome everyone. Day 3. I mean, we've made it here and it's been some wonderful information and I just got a visitor. So without further ado, the Aspinator. All right, so we're joining in on this today, talking about climate change and the impacts to tribes. And what 100 days, right? I mean, in 100 days, we've been able to say the words climate change again. We've been able to see it on a website. I think that's just funny. And it's just across the board. When I talk to different aspects of EPA, DOE, all these agencies across the board, they're able to do a 180-degree shift now and really start looking at these impacts of climate change, environmental justice, energy reform, all this stuff as it pertains to making a better planet and getting tribes involved. So, wow. I mean, we just have to take a step back and just say, wow. So I really like what the introduction of this agenda item was on the website, and it said the signs are increasingly abundant. Climate change is forcing change for tribal governments. So we have to learn how to adapt. We have to learn how to mitigate that. And so with that, we'll move forward. But before I do that, I want some quick logistics here. If you have any questions, there's 2 buttons down there below you. There's a Q&A, that's where your questions are going to go. And there's a chat where you can see a resemblance of Aspen come and make another appearance. So there's those 2 things, but we will take all the Q&A questions from there for after our next speaker. And without further ado, our next speaker is Alejandra Nunez. She is the Deputy Assistant Administrator for Mobile Sources for the EPA in the Office of Air and Radiation. Allie joined the EPA after serving as a senior attorney for the Sierra Club's environmental law program. Her work has focused on regulatory advocacy on federal greenhouse gases, fuel economy standards, carbon dioxide standards, and clean energy policies. Allie has worked to integrate environmental justice and climate policy, as well as position to understand and speak on the importance of the coming years and legislating regarding climate change mitigation and energy policy in regards to the health, safety, and energy sovereignty of tribal nations. I want to say that I first met Allie a little over 100 days ago, 130 days ago, when she was part of the transition team and really sought out the tribal voice, the tribal input. So with that, Allie, thank you. I appreciate getting to know you in this time period, and we duly appreciate you presenting to us today. And so does Aspen. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And hello all. Thank you, Brandy. Many thanks, Brandy, and all of you for having me here today, for inviting me to join the MTERA conference. Special thanks to Brandy for all her work. As Brandy mentioned, we met recently, but it's been such a pleasure working with you, Brandy, and other members of the National Tribal Air Association Executive Committee. And now I'm really glad to join MTERA's conference today. So as Brandy mentioned, I'm the Deputy Assistant Administrator for Mobile Sources in EPA's Office of Air and Radiation. I joined the agency in February of this year as part of the new leadership team. My central focus in the office is providing policy direction and leadership and supporting EPA's career staff with respect to EPA's programs for mobile sources. So let me cover a little bit of what does that mean. Standards for light duty vehicles, for heavy duty vehicles, the regulation of fuels, as well as grants and rebates through the Diesel Emission Reduction Acts and other voluntary programs to improve vehicle efficiency. I work with the rest of our leadership team, including Joe Goffman, who is our acting assistant administrator and principal deputy assistant administrator, with Tomas Carbonell, who is our deputy assistant administrator for stationary sources, and with our political appointee, Enjong Kim, who is a special assistant in the Office of Air. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share with you some of the recent regulatory developments at EPA as they relate to climate and clean air. But let me first talk about our work with tribal nations. So OAR takes its tribal responsibilities very seriously. Our work respects the unique legal status of American Indian tribes and Alaska Natives as sovereign nations. We are very committed to fulfilling our responsibilities for regular, meaningful, and robust consultation, which is it's critical to ensure that tribes have a voice in our rules. So we will work harder to ensure this as we move forward with implementing the Biden policy agenda. I should mention that OAR has developed a communication manual for working effectively with tribes. They are redrafting it, and we will be sharing a draft with MTERA shortly. We also conduct training to ensure that OAR staff are aware of their consultation responsibilities with tribal nations. OAR also created the Tribal Air Monitoring Support Center, and it funds the American Indian Air Quality Training Program to address training needs. We work very closely with the regions and the Office of International and Tribal Affairs to ensure that the tribes are served well. And we also coordinate with the National Tribal Air Association, as I mentioned at the beginning, and the Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals on the STAR report, as well as the National Tribal Forum on Air Quality. So let me get to trying to cover some of those recent developments in OAR. I'm going to talk about the regulatory area. So I'm understanding that the focus is on energy. I will cover some of the work that my colleagues are working on in the office, but I also would like to flag for you all some of the work that I'm doing on the mobile sources side that actually might be of interest, and there's a good connection with energy sovereignty. So as you know, during his first days in office, President Biden issued a series of executive orders that set priorities for the administration to protect public health, address the climate crisis, and truly integrate environmental justice in the actions of the administration. It's truly historic to have an administration that has made these three core issues a key centerpiece of the policy agenda. One of those executive orders, which was issued in January 20, specifically directed EPA to review several actions taken by the prior administration and to consider issuing rulemaking proposals in the near term to regulate some of our largest sources of climate and air pollution, such as vehicles, oil and gas facilities, and also looking at the mercury and air toxic standards for power plants specifically. We are taking those directives very seriously, following the science and the law. It's very important to note that we also have other tools beyond regulations, including voluntary programs, data and monitoring, and public engagement. So let me focus on the engagement piece. Close collaboration is critical to developing workable regulations and promoting successful implementation of those rules. So as part of this, as you know, President Biden also issued a memorandum on tribal consultation and strengthening nation-to-nation relationships. That memorandum underscores the administration's commitment and EPA's commitment to engage with you as we take action on climate change and air pollution. It's also important to know, as Brandy said at the beginning, she mentioned EPA and DOE. I will just know that climate change, environmental justice are issues where the administration is taking a whole of government approach. So EPA's work will be complemented by very important initiatives and investments made by other federal agencies across the government. Engaging broadly and meaningfully with the stakeholders is essential to our approach. The administrator has several times emphasized the importance of engaging with all parties, states, tribal nations, the regulated industry, environmental justice communities, environmental NGOs. So again, it's really great to be here so that we can connect. And I trust that we'll have more opportunities to do so in the future. We want to hear about the work you're doing and how we can help. So Brandy, I wanted to ask if I might be able to actually talk a little bit about the specific actions that I wanted to flag for you all that we've taken in this week and others that we're working on climate.
Yes, I think that is fantastic. I mean, you're kind of breaking news.
Great. Yes. So, well, I mean, I think the news cycle is over for some of this, but this week, let me start. I'm going to talk about vehicles on the regulatory side. I'm going to talk about cars and then oil and gas, power plants, and then I'll turn back to cars. And at the end, I actually also would like to touch upon indoor air quality. So on vehicles, on the regulatory side this week, we took a significant action. On Monday, we announced the agency's reconsideration of an action taken during the prior administration that is called the Safer, Affordable, Fuel-Efficient Vehicles Rule Part 1, which had withdrawn a waiver of authority to regulate greenhouse gas emissions and to issue a zero emission vehicle mandate by California. This applies to light duty vehicle passenger cars and light duty trucks. Administrator Regan signed a notice seeking comment on his reconsideration of this action, seeking to reinstate the California waiver. And the administrator affirmed its belief in California's longstanding authority to lead with stronger standards. This is very important to other states that actually are able, and many of them have actually adopted California standards for cars. I just wanted to flag that this notice is open for public comment until July 6th, and we will be holding a virtual public hearing on June 2nd. So that happened on Monday, but something else that we're working on very hard is we're going to take separate action to actually reconsider the previous emission standards for greenhouse gases at the national level for model years 2021 through 2026, a rule that is called SAFE 2 that was issued in the prior administration. We, by executive order, are required to propose a rule in July. This is a priority for us, and it's a priority in tackling climate change because passenger cars and trucks are one of the largest sources of greenhouse gas emissions in the United States, currently 28% of all the US inventory. And passenger cars represent 60% of all those transportation GHG emissions in the US. So that we know that the climate crisis demands aggressive action in this area. And we also know that just like the power sector, we are in a period of major transition in the automotive sector. So a big piece of that is the shift toward electric vehicles, which are a game-changing technology because they can significantly reduce greenhouse gas emissions and other pollution. So we intend to look at longer-term standards, which will take advantage of this technology and also provide incentives to expand it. I wanted to flag that we have heard concerns from tribal nations that a push for electrification may benefit urban areas with easier access to new charging stations than rural areas. So we're taking that feedback very seriously. We took it back to our staff, and we are considering the distribution of benefits of electric vehicles in all the work we do. I also just quickly wanted to mention that heavy duty trucks are also a priority. This is still something that we're working on to formulate a plan, but we look forward to sharing more information about regulating emissions from commercial trucks and buses. So that's what we're doing on vehicles. But let me talk now about oil and natural gas. So under the president executive orders, we're also taking a look at methane from oil and gas facilities, which are a leading source of climate and health harming pollution, but also a sector where there have been important technology and market developments that provide opportunities for very significant reductions. As you may know, yesterday Congress voted on a joint resolution of disapproval of a rule issued during the Trump administration, which has the effect of restoring the 2016 Obama methane standards for new sources. But even with the restoration of those standards from 2016, we have more work to do to tackle the climate crisis. The executive order directed EPA to consider strengthening standards from new reconstructed and modified sources, as well as also addressing methane emissions from existing sources by September 2021. So we are working on this. We're looking into issuing a proposal based on our review of these issues under the executive order. Now, let me talk about, being all of you energy experts, let me talk about what's our current thinking on power plants. The Office of Air is also currently evaluating opportunities to achieve greenhouse gas reductions from power plants under Section 111 of the Clean Air Act. As you may know, we currently don't have emission guidelines for states to limit greenhouse gases from existing power plants. This is because in January of 2021, the DC Circuit Court of Appeals vacated and remanded the previous administration's Affordable Clean Energy, or ACE, rule. EPA issued a memo in February clarifying that the court's decision did not result in any obligation for a state to submit state implementation plans under the Clean Power Plan, nor are there any obligations under the now vacated ACE rule. So this is something that the administrator has committed, taking a fresh look at standards for existing power plants. And we'll build on the lessons of our prior efforts in this area. And we really look forward to your input in developing next steps. We're also working with EPA staff to determine next steps with the goal of making climate progress, protecting public health, and advancing environmental justice, while also preserving affordable and reliable electricity. So we want to make sure that we're building on work that has been done to actually shift the electric grid towards cleaner sources during the past few years. Of course, while we work to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, we cannot neglect our duty to address other air pollution. So I'm gonna talk about the revisiting potentially the ozone and the particulate matter NACs. We're very confident that efforts to reduce air pollution will provide essential public health benefits, and we can do so cost effectively. In the executive order issued in January, the Biden administration prioritized revisiting the December 2020 final decisions taken for the ozone and PM NACs reviews. We haven't made any decisions yet, but I wanted to flag that we recognize these standards are critically important to public health, and then we need to look at these actions. These are big decisions, so we want to proceed carefully. We'll be looking closely at the science to determine whether reconsideration is appropriate. I also wanted to flag that in April, we issued a call for nominations for the Science Advisory Board and the Clean Air Scientific Advisory Committee. So let me talk about, I know that we're running out of time, Brandy. So let me talk a little bit about indoor air quality, because tribes have identified poor indoor air quality as one of the highest public health priorities. We work closely with the NTERA and the Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals to promote and support tribal actions to reduce exposure to harmful indoor air pollution. ORIAS, which is the name of our office in charge, they have established a tribal and environmental justice coordinator. The person currently in that position is a member of the Navajo Nation, Cody Hubbard, who brings his unique perspective to our work as he draws on his personal life and work experiences. We support states and tribal radon programs to reduce risk through the State Indoor Radon Grant Program. Last year, EPA awarded radon grants to 8 tribes to support their efforts. Another important public health issue is asthma. The indoor air asthma program at EPA focuses on building state, tribal, and local community capacity to reduce the environmental triggers that make asthma worse. We have an online stakeholder network of 1,100 community-based organizations that facilitates peer-to-peer engagement and action learning events called the asthmacommunitynetwork.org. In case you weren't aware, May is Asthma Awareness Month, so we are heavily focused on this issue. I'll also mention 2 opportunities for tribal engagement with EPA on indoor air. In May, regional and headquarters staff will be participating in the National Tribal Forum on Air Quality. OAR staff will be providing presentations on their partnerships with tribes regarding the indoor air quality work. And then we are creating an accessible and interactive document to help tribes navigate to various resources of interest to support the creation and expansion of tribal indoor air quality programs, touching on topics like asthma, mold, radon, commercial tobacco smoke, secondhand smoke, healthy homes, schools and public buildings, heating and cooking and residential wood smoke, disaster preparedness, COVID-19, and grants for programmatic support. So I'm gonna stop there because I'm hoping that we can hear a little bit from you. And thank you, Brandy.
No, thank you, Allie. That was a whirlwind of information across the board. I mean, I was nerding out on it, definitely. I deal with this stuff that Allie's talking about on a daily basis. And some of you may be like, whoo, what just happened there? What was that data dump? And a lot of you maybe, I'm going to address the last thing here, indoor air quality. Why is indoor air quality being talked on an energy conference? Here's a real reason why, is because when you do energy upgrades in your buildings, your tribal government buildings and tribal member homes, whatever like that, you have to think about indoor air quality and how that's affecting the health of the people. So instead of being stovepiped and going where the agencies in the past, and I'm not just saying the past 4 years, but the past has always been very stovepiped, we need to think about that integration of everybody working together and understanding how one change over here can have a good or inverse effect over here. And we have to be cognizant of those. So to do that, we have to start thinking across boundaries and across these stovepipes that have been so put in place. So, and then that and like the safe rules, really screwy name for it because it's unsafe, but those are very important too, because they're all dealing with making and forcing car dealers, manufacturers, excuse me, not dealers, to move forward and make better efficient cars, which will then, you know, progress us away from internal combustion engines most likely. So with that, I want to kick off the questions, Allie, and one of them is tribes are doing tribes are getting integrated into doing their own EV networks, you know.
Yes.
I know I can speak for Leech Lake directly that we're working on our tribal network, not the main corridor network, but how the tribe uses our large area and putting EV networks out there. But we're having a problem with EV vehicles. And I know that manufacturers are starting saying as soon as 2030, 2035, they're going to be predominantly electrified or hybrid vehicles. But we're finding out here in the Midwest, I see on the West Coast and I see on the East Coast, all these EV vehicles being available. What is EPA doing to help us in the Midwest get some EV vehicles available? Because right now I can't buy one in my area.
Yes, Brandy. So this is, I'm very glad that you're raising this question, because I wanted to have the opportunity to share some information about this. I will say that we really appreciate the work that you all are doing locally, right? To make possible the expansion of charging infrastructure, which is an issue that is more handled at least so far at the state level. But I'll mention, going back to the whole of government approach, that there are other agencies that are looking into how to make investments to expand that network. But in terms of actual vehicles, one very effective tool that we have in EPA is the DERA program, the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act, which is a grant program, grants or rebates to reduce harmful emissions from diesel engines. So just yesterday, we made an announcement that we opened an application process for the 2021 tribal and insular area grants. We plan to award approximately $5 million in DERA funding under this announcement. A total of $4.5 million will be made available to tribal governments or intertribal consortia and Alaska Native villages, and then 500,000 will be made available to insular area governments. We anticipate awarding 5 to 10 cooperative agreements to tribal governments and Alaska Native villages, and 2 to 4 cooperative agreements to insular area governments. Something that I really wanted to flag is that this year's request for applications has no mandatory cost share requirement. Mm-hmm. And sets funding limits to 800,000 for tribal applicants. So I think this is something that could be really, really helpful to through the EPA program, actually, for the first time, really like trying to be more focused on access to electric financing mechanisms to access electric vehicles, as opposed to just clean diesel engines. So I just wanted to flag this announcement that there's a current application process open. This will be managed by the 10 regional offices. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The size of the grants will be subject to availability of funds, the quality of the applications received, but I really wanted to flag for your awareness that we have this request out there since yesterday.
Mm-hmm. No, that's great. And it really is groundbreaking that the DERA, it's called DERA, mm-hmm. program has no match, and that's the first time, because it used to be quite large, and 25% or greater depending on the application. So it's a great opportunity for tribes to take on. I wanted to say something about the Affordable Clean Act mm-hmm. or ACE rule. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to formulate my question, but this is important for even the energy sector and understanding this and the misnomers of what is clean energy and such. I just wonder if there was a little bit more to discuss on that.
So as I said, Brandy, given that this is Circuit's decision, basically vacating the rule and sending it back to EPA, we're looking at what we need to do, and that we need to take action, right, to regulate mm-hmm. greenhouse gases from existing power plants, and tribal nations will be critical stakeholders in that conversation because of the plants under their jurisdiction. So currently there's no rule, there's no clean power plan, there's no ACE rule, and we have to look at this and replace it.
Right.
So there's a conversation that you might all be aware of about potentially a clean energy standard. The administration trying to push for a clean energy standard passed through congressional legislation, but Administrator Regan has indicated that we're still going to look at our toolbox and the authorities and the obligations we have to regulate pollution emissions under the Clean Air Act, right? So this is something that we will be looking at, and that we really look forward to your input. because regulating greenhouse gases from the power sector is still is very important. I mean, the power sector together with transportation are the largest sources of greenhouse gases in the US.
Mhm, mhm. Excellent, excellent. And someone just asked me for the link, and so I just quickly threw the link up in the chat for the DERA program. That will just get you to the main page, and you can go on from there. But I'm a past awardee, and it was a great project to go through. I was just trying to think of other people are quiet this morning, Ali.
Let me pick up a little bit on the indoor air issue, Brandy, since we work very collaboratively with tribes, and we've heard many times that this is a priority, and I really appreciate the awareness about indoor air quality being so important to health. Not everybody has the level of awareness that many members of tribal communities do, but picking up on your point about the relationship with climate, right? Like wildfires, these extreme weather events that are happening outdoors are affecting indoor quality. And then if one of the strategies to actually decarbonize the power sector is energy efficiency investments in housing and buildings, we have to make sure that occupants and families who live in those buildings have like healthy levels of indoor air pollution. So basically connecting, one of the things that our office is doing is connecting all these climate policies, strategies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and indoor air quality.
So we did have people are interested in DERA, and it's the Diesel Emissions Reductions Act. And this has been something the tribes have went and even asked for a tribal set aside way back in the day, you know. God, I'm old because I was back in the day. But this is work that can be done with retrofitting diesel vehicles, with different types of equipment to like have reburns and such like that, or even changing out engines for a higher tier. And then also there is aspects in it for EV and EV vehicles, if I'm not mistaken, Ali.
Yes, that is right. And I think one thing that I can ask our team, our experts who are working on the DERA program, is actually if we can send you information, Brandy, so that you all don't have to be looking at, navigating the website, but just like sending you the specifics about the request for applications that was published yesterday, that you could circulate to all of you who are on the call right now.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the website, Ali, and it says the 2020 request for applications is closed. So you just said there was something sent out yesterday.
Yeah, the announcement is for 2021.
Okay.
But it was issued yesterday.
Okay, so don't go there and go, they don't know what they're talking about. Those two ladies are crazy. It's not updated yet, and it will be, and so stay tuned.
Yes, let me gather that information for you all, and we'll send it to you, Brandy.
Wonderful. Okay, I'm looking at another question. There's another question on DERA. Would this be for large truck EVs, or would it be for light passenger cars? I think it's for all of them. It's for all to replace diesel vehicles, and that's the kicker with this is diesel vehicle replacement, getting those more emissions producing vehicles off the roads.
Yes, so let me actually I'll make sure that in that information that we sent to you, Brandy, that we have some guidance on what is the scope, because I don't want to just affirm, or I don't know the details.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'll get that information to you all.
Fantastic. And any more questions coming through? For one, thank you so much, Ali. Like I said, that was nerd out time for me. I was hanging on your words just about like, oh, what's new, what's going on. So I really appreciate it. If there's any more questions, I'll just kind of do a little bit of wrap up here. And if there's any more questions that come in, we'll take that, Allie, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I hope what you have really been enjoying this week. Like, I hope that you've been inspired or questioning or going, those ladies are on crack. They don't know what they're talking about. Either way, we got your attention. And I'm really excited for that. And the feedback we've already been getting about this week's conference and this annual conference that MTERA is putting on. And I feel that this virtual setup has allowed us to have a great range of speakers that normally we couldn't get all in one place at one time. So this has been great. So if you really like what's going on and you're a Midwest tribe, please join us. Please come and join the MTERA team. We have fun. We have a lot of information and there's a lot of stuff moving forward. So there's my plug. Join us. All right. So with that, thank you, Allie, again. So wonderful to have you. We'll now take a 15-minute break, which I'm sure all of us need. We encourage you, step away from the computer, have a little debriefing, go pet your puppy, have a cup of coffee, or if you're going to be like me, eat some food real quick before I come back and get to present to y'all again. So with that, we will see you back here at, I believe it's 12 o'clock, and we'll see you then and have great presentations from the MTERA member tribes. So with that, thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. And thank you again, Allie, Gary, and Jay Sam. Thank you so much for your time today. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Brandy. Thank you, MJ, and everyone. Thank you. Bye.
Awesome.
Bye. Thank you.